The Xiaomi 17 has the largest battery you've seen on a compact phone and a flagship camera setup. It is the direct competitor to the iPhone 17, which finally is using a promotion display. The Pixel 10, which is the first base Pixel phone with a triple camera setup, and the classic Galaxy S25, which is the lightest phone here. To see which one of these is the best choice for you, I'm going to do a camera test with Maria dressed up for Halloween. I'll also do a battery and performance test, and the result of the battery test was shocking to me. Between the four phones, the Galaxy is the lightest at only 162 grams with a 4000 mAh battery. It also has a triple camera setup. The Xiaomi is only 191 grams despite the fact that it's packing a 7000 mAh battery. It also has a triple camera setup. The iPhone 17 is also light. The battery capacity is only 3692, weighing 177 grams. It doesn't have a telephoto lens and has only wide and ultrawide cameras. The Pixel 10 is the heaviest at 204 grams since it has a large 4970 mAh battery. It also has a triple camera setup. The main sensor size of the Xiaomi 17 is the largest. The iPhone and Galaxy have a similar size, and the Pixel has a rather small camera sensor for this price tag. Therefore, when we take a picture, the Xiaomi is going to have the most amount of bokeh or background blur, followed by the iPhone and Galaxy, and the Pixel has the least. So the only phone that makes photos look like they are coming from a real camera is the Xiaomi, since you get that juicy background blur that you won't get on other phones. That also affects picture quality indoors, where the larger sensor can gather more light. The Xiaomi has two main color modes. This one is taken in Leica Authentic. It is a bit contrasty for my taste, and for the sake of comparison, I use Leica Vibrant in this video, and as you can see, the colors are more typical of a smartphone. Also, for reference, this is Maria dressed up for Halloween in these specific autumn colors, and this video is shot on a Sony full-frame camera. The Galaxy has more neutral processing. The Xiaomi is increasing the exposure on Maria's skin, the iPhone white balance is too warm, and the Pixel has a lot of magenta. In 2x zoom, I can see the same, but this time the Pixel also increased the exposure on Maria's face. And the observation I mentioned stayed consistent through the video for skin tones. The Galaxy, in my opinion, is the most natural one. The Xiaomi is overexposed with highlights sometimes missing. The iPhone is too warm and the Pixel too magenta. For other scenes without people, the colors are closer. The Xiaomi is the only one producing noticeably different colors here due to the Leica color science. Generally, Xiaomi colors are more vibrant since we are shooting in the vibrant mode, but as I explained, I also feel the Leica Authentic mode is a bit too contrasty and dark. Overall though, all four phones are more than capable of taking great shots in daylight, and computational photography can also compensate to an extent for the smallest sensor size. Especially if you take photos of inanimated objects or plants, even with higher ISOs like 500 here, the phones use algorithms like denoising and produce a pleasing final result. The same goes for video with the main lens here. Here, I took 4K 30 frames per second videos. The Xiaomi and Galaxy can also take 8K videos or 4K 120 frames per second, while the Pixel and iPhone 4K are capped at 60 frames per second. All phones, of course, have a portrait mode where the phone artificially blurs the background. I do find the Xiaomi has the best processing for Maria's hair, followed by the Galaxy. The Pixel has the worst, and the iPhone is alright but a bit too aggressive in cutting her hair. The Galaxy and Pixel telephoto lenses are only 10 megapixel and are small, while the Xiaomi telephoto is 50 megapixel and much larger, and the iPhone doesn't have one at all. The maximum amount of optical zoom you can get looks like this on each phone, with the iPhone having the least amount since you can't zoom more than 1x. If you zoom in 5 times with each phone, you immediately notice the Pixel and Xiaomi have better optical quality. The interesting part is that the iPhone is not doing a bad job at all, and you also get better background blur since the main sensor is larger. I do feel Galaxy should use a better telephoto lens next year. The images you get with the telephoto lens from buildings on the Galaxy can look decent, but the Xiaomi is much sharper with more detail. The iPhone is rather disappointing, and the Pixel is also a good quality. Also, with the Xiaomi, you can zoom the furthest, followed by the Galaxy, Pixel, and finally the iPhone. For the ultrawide lens, the Galaxy, iPhone, and Pixel have a similar focal length, but the Xiaomi one is not as wide as the other three. That means when you are making a video, you can fit less in the frame, but at the same time, body proportions are going to look more natural since a wider lens can distort them. I generally find the Galaxy S25 not doing a great job with lens reflection. When there is a sun, there is a mist on the photo and the shadows are raised too much. I also notice on the ultrawide lens that the Xiaomi exposes the photo more than the other phones, but nevertheless, both Xiaomi and the others do great HDR processing. The skin tone is also consistent on the ultrawide camera across the phones, with the Galaxy being natural, Xiaomi overexposes, iPhone warmer, and the Pixel leaning towards magenta. For the selfie camera, the iPhone has a square sensor this year, meaning you can take selfies both vertically and horizontally. In vertical mode, the iPhone and Pixel have the widest focal length. Xiaomi is close to them, but unfortunately the Galaxy is too tight. On the iPhone, as I mentioned, you can take vertical photos too, which is really neat for content creation. We can also check the selfie video quality together with mic quality next. So now we are testing the selfie camera. As you can see, the Galaxy is too close, so you cannot actually see Maria. The Xiaomi is wide enough. The iPhone is also really wide. Also, the selfie is a square, so we can also do a horizontal or vertical video as we want. The Pixel is also wide, but there's too much magenta on the color. No? Yeah.
Oh, hi.
On this night photo with the ultrawide lens, the Xiaomi has a totally different color science. I found the iPhone did the best job, followed by the Galaxy, but the Pixel didn't process the sky correctly. The same goes for the main lens, where the Pixel's sky looks banded. I found Xiaomi's processing better here, with the photo being more exposed, likely due to the larger sensor. The iPhone and Galaxy also did a decent job. One interesting thing is that the Galaxy is the only phone that doesn't produce these weird green lights ghosting in photos. I wonder why the other phones can't just copy what Galaxy does. The same goes for video, where on Xiaomi, iPhone and Pixel, you see these green dots reflections at night. The Galaxy doesn't have them, but its quality is lacking. Xiaomi has a sharper result, iPhone is acceptable, and Pixel also doesn't produce very detailed footage. The battery capacity of the Xiaomi 17 is the highest, while the iPhone has the lowest, but usually iPhones can last longer even with lower capacity. The charging speed of the Galaxy, iPhone, and Pixel are not that impressive, but at least the Xiaomi 17 has 100-watt charging speed. Also, on the Chinese variants that I bought from Trading Shenzhen, the charging brick is included. I put a link to the phone in the description. I've bought countless phones from these guys and I 100% trust them. They all support wireless charging, but the Galaxy and Xiaomi do not have magnets, so you can snap MagSafe or Qi 2 power banks and accessories onto the back. The iPhone has MagSafe and Google has Pixel Snap. For Galaxy and Xiaomi, you can of course buy a MagSafe compatible case and attach the accessories that way. I put the link to my favorite accessories and cases in the description. All four phones have a 120Hz display. Thanks God, finally Apple. The Galaxy is the only one with a 6.2-inch display, while the other three are 6.3 inches, and the Pixel is slightly taller because of its larger bezels. The iPhone is the only phone on the table that has anti-reflective properties. On the other hand, the Xiaomi is the only one that comes with a screen protector installed. The iPhone also has an extra action button on the left side and a camera button on the right side, which can be useful in some scenarios, but I personally prefer if they didn't exist at all, so I turned them off. The iPhone is of course the only phone with iOS, while the other three are running Android 16 in different flavors. The Xiaomi HyperOS looks suspiciously similar to iOS in look and feel, but that's only the surface. It is an Android experience at its core, but sometimes the similarities are uncanny, like the search button, which looks exactly the same on both. Right now, after doing the camera test, the Galaxy is at 52%, the Xiaomi 75%, the iPhone 57%, and the Pixel at 66%. I then turned off the Wi-Fi so the phones can run on 5G on the same network and the same brightness level. Just note that we always have to add 2 hours of screen on time to the watch because that's how much the phones used when I was taking photos and videos outside. I played 2 hours of YouTube on all 4 phones, and by the end of it, the Galaxy was at 35%, the Xiaomi 65%, the iPhone 36%, and the Pixel 46%. I then decided to run only one benchmark, Geekbench, which is the most common benchmark these days. On single core, the iPhone got the highest score, followed closely by the Xiaomi running a Snapdragon 8 Elite Generation 5, then the Galaxy, and finally the Pixel. On multi-core, the Xiaomi 17 got the highest score, followed closely by the Galaxy, then the iPhone, and Pixel was far behind the rest of the pack. I would say you are more than fine picking the Galaxy, Xiaomi, or iPhone if you want to game or do heavy tasks. I then put all 4 phones on standby mode overnight, and when I woke up, the Xiaomi had the highest percentage at 60%, while the Galaxy and iPhone were the lowest at 26%. For the last part of the battery drain test, I connected all phones to Wi-Fi again to run Google Meet and chat with each other. It is not surprising that the Galaxy and iPhone were the first to die since they have the smallest battery capacities. The Galaxy was the first phone to leave the chat after 5 hours and 24 minutes of heavy use, while the Xiaomi still had more than 42% battery left. And that's absolutely insane. Then, a few minutes later, the iPhone left the chat after 5 hours and 51 minutes. Not a bad result considering the smaller battery capacity. Also, as a note, none of these phones have more than 15 battery cycles and are not my personal phones. Now, Pixel and Xiaomi were left in the chat, but it was obvious that Pixel would go next. After 6 hours and 20 minutes, the Pixel left the chat, and the Xiaomi still had around 30% battery left. Xiaomi uses new silicon carbide batteries, and we all wonder when other major brands like Samsung, Apple, and Google are going to use them in their lineup, or at least give us a good explanation of why they don't. The Xiaomi had a crazy run and finally left the chat at 7 hours and 44 minutes. So it is super easy to crown the Xiaomi as the best battery life phone of the year for compact phones. No phone ever comes close to it. Overall, the Xiaomi 17 is a super decent phone. It is the only one with a proper main camera sensor. It has crazy battery life, and if you buy the Chinese version like I did, it is cheaper than any other phone on this table. The iPhone is a natural choice if you are an iPhone user. For the first time, the base iPhone also has a 120Hz display, and the square selfie camera is a game changer. The only downside is the lack of a telephoto lens. The Galaxy is a decent choice. It weighs the least on this table, but that comes with a problem of lower battery life. I also feel the camera lenses need some love as they are starting to feel a bit outdated. The Pixel has a nice telephoto lens and decent battery life, but it comes with a problem of weight, and the main sensor is really weak considering the price of the phone. You can also go for the Xiaomi 17 Pro, iPhone 17 Pro, or Pixel 10 Pro if you want to spend a bit more money. If you want to watch the comparison, click on this video next. Thanks for tuning into Tecmo, and I will see you in the next one.